You meet a man. He's funny, attentive. He actually listens to you. You go on a date and you get home with sore cheeks from laughing. He says all the right things, wants the same things. It feels easy and rare. Dates turn into a relationship and you think, this is exactly what you've been looking for. Now imagine discovering that everything he told you was a lie, and you're only one of many women that he has on the go. This is the story of Filthy John, a compulsive liar, a manipulator, a man with a serious drug problem, a habit of stealing, and a dangerous temper. On the surface, he was hilarious, affectionate, the perfect man. But behind the scenes, he was creating chaos in multiple women's lives, lying to them, mirroring their personalities, love bombing, stealing, vanishing, reappearing, and slowly wrecking their sense of reality. These women didn't just overlap, their lives became tangled in the most bizarre ways. In this podcast, you'll hear from 4 of them. 4 women brave enough to sit down and tell their story. There are more, but some of them are still too scared to speak. This is a story about manipulation, survival, and the power that comes when women start comparing notes. Monica met John on a dating site in July 22. It moved fast. By their second month, he came for a visit and never really left. For weeks, they were inseparable. He made her laugh like no one had in years. She thought she had found her best friend, her soulmate. And something that felt really special, they both had young daughters the same age. It all just made sense. But over time, that intensity started to shift. The relationship became hot and cold, too intense, too unpredictable. There was a lot of on and off.
I broke up with him during that 2.5 years, I don't know, 5, 6 times maybe. And every single time he would manage to get back into my life, just promises,
Monica was aware of his past struggles with amphetamine addiction.
And because I'm aware that addiction is a disease, it's an illness. So you can get treatment, you can get better if you try, obviously, if you put work. And I was willing to put that work because I thought the relationship was, I thought I was with my soulmate. We tried couples therapy. He was going to NA meetings. He was going to a personal therapy. I started our relationship with €4,000 on my account. And at the end of that month, maybe I was down to €400. And I even sent him a long message saying, listen, mate, I can do, I was recording message crying and saying, I can't do it. I can't do this. I said, I'm not able to support 4-person's family. I don't even work. All I get is a few quid from my ex-husband as a, maintenance and social welfare. That's all I'm getting. You're not contributing anything. I keep buying food and I keep buying stuff for the kids and I'm taking the kids over and there's nothing. So there was always some promises of improvement, I found out later that, there was some money missing from my house, small amounts, but they were always missing. And again, I couldn't really prove anything, but I always knew, I was hiding money at some stage, being in a relationship with this man. And before anyone goes after us, it's not as easy as you all think. It's not as straightforward. We were under some sort of spell. It was that, but because John has a very love for BDSM, right? And he loves being very dominant in the bedroom. But I told him that that's fine with me in the bedroom. However, it doesn't go outside the bedroom. Do not tell me what to do outside because it's not going to end well. He tried this on a few occasions at the beginning, but then I think he just kind of realized this is just, I'm not the right person for that.
As time went on, Monica started to see a pattern. John always had an excuse, but never any money. He relied on her to cover everything. But Monica wasn't a fool. She learned how to manage him. If she was going to take her daughter somewhere, it had to be on a weekend when his daughter wasn't there. Otherwise, Monica would end up paying for both of them, and she simply couldn't do that. That said, he did get Monica to pay for his daughter's birthday present the first year they were together.
He told me that his sister had ordered a roll toy from Ken Black, and he has to go and collect it on the day of her birthday, which was, he asked me to lend him 100 quid. And I didn't want to do it, but I said, well, sure, I will. And obviously I never saw the money after. But we made the same mistake. All of us, I think all of us invested some sort of money in the, maybe that's why it was so hard because we treated it as an investment. I invested in this man. I invested not financially per se, but just kind of, I invested my feelings and this relationship has potential. This man is potential. This is what we fell in love in, a potential, not, the person. Anya would be the first girlfriend that I know of, or we know of, that John was in a kind of long-term relationship. They were together during COVID. Now, when I met John, Anya was introduced to me, not personally, but kind of I knew of Anya as his friend. That's all, his friend. By accident, I saw some strange messages from Anya on his phone once when he was sleeping. He told me that I'm completely wrong. There was nothing romantic between them. He was just saying, she's much older. Obviously, no way. At some stage, I realized that he was probably lying to me. I contacted Anya on Messenger, just asking her questions. I said, can you please tell me? I introduced myself. Said, can you please tell me, were you or you were not, in a romantic relationship? And she texted me back straight away, in fairness, saying, yes, but you should always trust your gut feeling. Yes, we were. I don't know why he's denying it, blah, blah, blah. She gave me a contact number to another lady, Paula, who I also contacted and had exactly the same story as mine, with exactly the same, like textbook John, by the book. He finally admitted about, relationship with Anya. That was the first time I broke up with him. And I wouldn't mind, but I actually said to him, are you scamming? Is that what you do? Are you scamming women? That's what you do. It's like a Tinder swindler. Pisses me off so much because I knew all those things then, and for some reason I decided to put them, glasses on and just like little blinkers. That would have been. I'm not sure if it was in August 2020. That was like a few months after we met. But obviously he got me, all brainwashed. And again, I decided, okay, past is past. Those relationships were the past. We're starting now because, I made mistakes in my past as well, obviously. And we're together now. Didn't understand why he was lying to me about those things. But, fair enough. He was my prince. He was my soulmate. He was a male version of me, honestly. He morphs into you. He becomes you. He asks so many questions at the beginning of a relationship. Were you texting? And he carries those very crucial, tiny information that you tell him about your past relationship, And most of us were from some sort of toxic relationship. Either it was cheating or in my case, it was a controlling relationship with my previous husband. So he picks up those little cues and then you tell him, what you want in the relationship, what you're looking for, and he becomes this person. Now, we know now that he becomes by just saying pure lies. There's just nothing true about this person. He becomes a sort of your expectation of a man. And this is what you fall in love with. This picture perfect person that you've been looking your whole life, Now, unfortunately, he's got a great sense of humor. And that was extremely important to me. And to be honest, to all of us. When we were together, we laughed. I mean, I don't remember laughing that hard in years before I met him. There were times that I would wet myself from laughing, just uncontrollably.
The last 6 months of the relationship from mid-23 to the end were actually some of the best. In August, they went on holiday together and things seemed to be looking up. Then for Christmas, he surprised Monica with something truly unexpected. He put down €1,000 towards a new sofa for her home. No one had ever done anything so kind or generous for her before, and she was overwhelmed with emotion. They were really making progress, but she still knew there was work to be done, a process to navigate.
Then Christmas time came. My mom arrived from Poland, and I was supposed to be meeting her at my brother's house on Christmas Eve. It's a Polish day. We have a Polish traditional supper. And we all go driving there to spend time together. And as we were driving, Joe was saying to me that, we're meeting your mom and your brother. You should have a drink with them. I'll drive. I agreed to that. And then when we arrived there, my brother kind of showed John, his supplies and just said, maybe we should just flick a coin then. So I said, that's grand. Let's flick a coin. And he won and I lost, which meant that he was drinking and I was driving, which was fine with me as well. That just guaranteed me no headache in the morning. So grand. He got really, really drunk during that supper. We drove home about probably 10 o'clock in the evening. He was that drunk that he was texting me from the back seat. I was driving. He was texting me from the back seat to slow down on the ramps on the potholes because he was being sick. He went to bed almost immediately, fell asleep. I couldn't sleep because I had a double espresso at 8 o'clock that evening, which I never do, but I'd done it then. 11 o'clock in the evening, everyone's asleep, and I'm just walking around, but I decided to try give it a go. I went to bed, and as I walked into the bedroom, I noticed that his phone was resting on my pillow, which was normal enough because he would sleep with his earphones in, listening to podcasts or sort of, I don't know, YouTube or any other crap. But this time, because I was in the bedroom, the earphones weren't in, and the phone just was kept playing whatever. So I picked up the phone just to pause it and put it back on his locker. But as I picked it up, I noticed a notification on his screen saying, "I left you a voice message," and it was a message from Charlotte, which I found very strange because it was 11:30 at night on Christmas Eve, and I knew that there's no way this was a business-related message. So I got very curious, and I kind of picked up the phone, and it looked very comical, I'd say. If someone looks at me, then it was like I was playing the red light, because I was afraid that the floor would squeak all, and the smallest movement would wake him up. But anyway, I went through the phone. I didn't really see anything. I saw just small things connected to Linda, actually. Those shitloads of phone calls made to Linda in the last, I don't know, a few days of that period, despite him telling me that he was not in touch with Linda whatsoever. But I put the phone down. I couldn't find anything. And then I tried to fall asleep, and I could not. It's just my blood pressure was sky high at that stage. The adrenaline was going. I said, fuck it, I won't be able to go back to sleep anyway. So I decided to grab his phone again, and I took the phone, took the charger, went downstairs, made myself a cup of coffee, sat down with a cigarette and a coffee, and I was going through the phone. And I could not, I swear, I was going through every single thing, and I could not find Charlotte. And then I remember that he used to send me screenshots of different conversations, like business phone calls or whatever. And there was always a couple of folders on top of his WhatsApp screen. And one of them was archived. So I said, okay, well, let's try the archived ones since I can't find anywhere else. And as I opened the archived ones, I noticed the first message was from a woman who he had saved as my sexy biatch. And when I looked at that person, I recognized the woman straight away. Her name is Michelle. And I know Michelle from then, over a year ago. See, that's why my stories are so long, because it's just so many twists and turns, and going back over a year ago. I don't remember exactly, but I'm guessing it was winter 23, might have been October, November. I took my dogs for a walk, and my daughter and his daughter were in my house upstairs, and he was downstairs. I know while I was walking the dogs, because it was 11 o'clock at night in the morning, I checked the house cameras to just make sure that the girls are dressed. And then I noticed on the other camera that he was on the patio. And I tried to give him a fright and just to be bull, but I realized that he was on the phone. So I was just hanging on till he finished the phone to give him the fright. But then while I was listening to that conversation, I realized that he's talking to a woman, and he's telling her things like he was caressing her, or telling her things that she should do to be in a relationship with him, sort of. Like he was telling her, oh, you've got a big husky, you have to do something with this dog. This dog is too big and too messy and can be dangerous. And, you have to organize this in your house and change this in your house. It was a very, very peculiar conversation. And I was listening to the conversation for 40 minutes. At the end of this conversation, he said, anyway, I miss you and I can't wait to see you. I got pretty annoyed with him, even though we weren't a couple at that stage. We were on one of those breaks. So we were just being friends. He was here because of his daughter. It wasn't because, I was jealous. It was because he was under my roof. He never mentioned anything about this woman. And it got me that he was kind of brainwashing there, sort of, because I remember that from the beginning of our relationship, that he was trying to do those things with me. Well, it's like, tell me, what should I do with my ex-husband, to tell him not to take my daughter out and, give her too many sweets, or those kind of things. He was trying to be very dominating in the relationship. So he was doing the same with that woman. And when I came back home and I asked him about it, he said, oh no, you overheard. There's no way I would tell her, that I miss her and, I can't wait to see her. Actually, all I did was I just helped her clean up her shed, probably some bushes too, I'm guessing now. But, but anyway, he denied, and I got on with it because he said we weren't together. And I'm the kind of person that just sweeps everything under the carpet and just, move on. It's easier. But he denied it. So then when on that Christmas Eve, I saw her on the phone, I realized that, I was right all along, and they were indeed together. And when I went through his phone and through the messages with her, I realized that they were in a kind of on and off relationship during the whole period. Now, unfortunately, I was in such a shock when I saw those messages that I wasn't thinking straight. I should have gone to the beginning, to the very beginning of those conversations, to see the dates and everything, which I know now. But then I didn't know what I was doing. All I did, I took my phone and I just screen recorded. I was a swipey up and down. I screen recorded that to have proof because I knew there was a chance of him gaslighting me again and, brainwashing me. So that was that. And then I found Charlotte. Charlotte was the next woman on his call logs. I listened to Charlotte's voice message asking him to give her money back and, being very, very vulnerable with him and telling him how she felt and how she was hurt. And again, while I was listening to the message, I was kind of recording, scrolling up and down the messages and recording all of that. So that was a read. I noticed a couple of more names, but like those two were enough for me. And I was kind of panicking that he would wake up. And so what I did actually, I finished that. I did a few recordings and then I charged his phone fully. I left it just being petty. I made sure that I left them on those archived messages. And I just closed the phone. So I put it on the locker, and knowing that the first thing he's going to do, just wakes up, just picks up the phone and he sees those. And, just the thought of him panicking then in the middle of the night was just a little delight for me. So that was it. Got back downstairs and he kind of came down with a panic on his face about 3 a.m. asking, "Oh, baby, why are you not sleeping?" I said, "Well, I can't fucking sleep, can I?"
Monica couldn't make a scene. Her mum was in the room next door and her daughter was asleep upstairs. She told him quietly, "Go back upstairs or leave now." He was a coward, so he left at 3 a.m. She gathered up the Christmas gifts she had bought for him and his daughter, packed them neatly into a bag and let him leave with them.
Like, I was really upset and I couldn't really tell anyone because it was Christmas Day. I didn't want to spoil it for anyone, So for the full day, I was kind of pretending. I made up the story that he had to go and that, his daughter had to go back to her mom's earlier, so there was no point in there coming here because he was supposed to be spending the whole week with me, his daughter, him, and my family. I had to tell my mom eventually on the second day of Christmas because she would not shut up and just kept asking about it, And, oh God, right, he's not coming back, okay? He's not coming back. She was pretty upset, but her first question was, what would he have to do? After I told her about, multiple women, he says, what would he do so you take him back? I said, there's no fucking way. There's nothing. I said, I understand a one-night stand, a drunken. We could have a conversation about it. Maybe there's some things missing in the relationship. But this is a relationship that was more down the up, We were kind of fighting over this relationship for 2.5 years, almost the whole way. And now he's cheating on me with plenty of women. Like I told my mom, don't even go there. We're absolutely not.
Monica knew John was still in contact with Anya, so she decided it was time to reach out to see what Anya knew about the whole situation.
I messaged her on Messenger and it was only sent. It was never delivered, which was strange because we were in contact before and we were kind of, I was sending him for my messages just previous January, I think, about some drama with John, obviously. The message was never sent and I said, that is very strange. So I just, okay, well, let's try Instagram then. We can't just give it up.
The women later uncovered that John had gone as far as blocking Monica from Anya's phone, a clear sign he didn't want these women to continue communicating about him.
And I sent her a DM on Instagram and she replied straight away. She says, "Hi, how's it going?" I said, "Well, I want you to know that, John and myself are not together." And she said, "Yeah, I know, he told me." And while she was typing her message, I sent her screenshots of those messages that I had recorded on my phone from his, She texted him back, "He was cheating on you?" I said, "Yeah, with several women." And she says to me, "He told me that you cheated on him, that on Christmas Eve, when he was at your brother's house, you asked him to take a photograph of you and your daughter. And while he was taking the photograph on your phone, there was a notification from my manager from work. It was like a very intimate message, apparently. So basically, the reason John broke up with me because I was cheating on him with my manager. Now, he's very careful about details. So he went to my manager's Facebook page, took a screenshot of his Facebook profile picture where he's with his wife and his 3 children. And this is what he sent to Anya as a proof that this is the man. So obviously when I sent Anya my photographs, which are a bit more reliable, she was so shocked. She could not understand what was going on. And so we decided, that we should talk. And I spent another 5 hours on the phone to Anya this time. He likes to have all his women handy. All his ex-girlfriends are still his friends. Well, used to be. Okay, things change now. But almost every single woman that he used to be with, it doesn't matter for how long, is in his phone and he is in constant contact. He checks in. He makes sure that they are all right. He makes sure they don't need they're okay. They don't need any help. If they do need help, he will give them a hand. We know that he will also steal from them when money are handy. So he wasn't trying to get back together with Anya. He was looking for a house to stay in because he couldn't go back to his house as he didn't have any money, apparently. He couldn't stay in my house as planned because I kicked him out. So he was contacting Anya to ask if he could go and spend Christmas at her house. Anya wasn't there. She was spending time with her family somewhere else. But she kind of agreed to that. So he actually spent Christmas, I think, day and another day at Anya's house. He was just looking for sympathy, for pity. But he's, as a narcissist, and probably there's some more serious issues with him, he will not take a responsibility for his actions. So he needs to blame someone for absolutely everything. So he couldn't just tell her, listen, I cheated on her. Because for the last 2.5 years of my relationship with Anya, all he was telling her, or with me, he was telling Anya that I'm the love of his life. And, that he was crying when I was dating, he was on the phone to Anya and telling her that, he can't live without me, and she was their support. It's like a soap opera. It's like a Mexican soap opera. This is something that you could not make up if you even try. Yeah, so he wasn't trying to get back with Anya. He was just looking for a house. He was looking for sympathy. He was looking for attention of any kind. So I spoke to Anya, and Anya was in such a shock, but kind of I was so glad that I told her the whole story and what I have found out. And because she was still friendly, she kept giving him chances like me, only kind of platonically, because she thought with me, he became a different person. He was a changed man. He told her also about the NA meetings and the therapy, and he really looked like he went on holidays, which meant that he had money, and he was going to work and all this stuff that he wasn't doing before.
Monica still couldn't get Charlotte out of her mind. She wanted to find out what had happened with this woman. She goes through the messages she had screen recorded from John's phone when she spots a surname. She tries searching Charlotte and the surname on Facebook, but nothing comes up. But then as she keeps scrolling, another message catches her eye. It turns out her name wasn't Charlotte at all. It was Kim.
So I went through more messages and I was, it's Kim. So then I said, okay, definitely. So Kim and the surname, and I found her. I don't know why I never contacted her on Messenger or Instagram, even if I followed her on both. I downloaded TikTok especially for that occasion. Don't ask me, I never had TikTok in my life. I downloaded it for this. It took me a couple of days, but then I got brave and I said, I have to contact this girl, because by the sound of her messages to him, she had plenty of questions. She was very hurt, and I'd say as much as it would help me, I'm pretty sure it would help her to, know the truth. So I wrote a message to Kim, and I think she texted me back the day after or 2 days after. It was Christmas period, so I was kind of busy. And I asked her, would you like to talk? Would you like some answer? And she said, absolutely, yes. And we spoke that day, and we spoke for 5 hours. That's the beginning of Kim's story.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of Filthy John. Please like, subscribe and share. In our next episode, we will meet Kim.